Thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name is Mikko Hyppönen. This is Christian Rönnbacka.
Thank you, Mikko.
And as you heard from Markus, we're here to talk about fiction in the cyber world. Christian has law enforcement background and a long background as an author and also founder of a distillery. That's an interesting piece. We'll get to that in a moment. But let's start from the book. This book is closely tied to what we're all working on, which is cybersecurity. And it's from the thriller Henna Björk series, authored by Christian. Christian, who is Henna Björk?
Henna Björk is like a solution how to make it outside Finland, because if you're a reader, you will think about Finnish literature. You don't give a poop. So I try to make an interesting person, and she's a hybrid. She's born in like Göteborg in Sweden, and she's been working on the hardest areas as a police officer, and the Finnish intelligence and security service got interested in her because she has an Iraqi mother. She speaks Farsi, Arabian, many other languages. So they recruited her, and she's now working like in a world that nobody can speak of in Finland, and everything is like writing about Henna. It's like she's like a Jason Bourne.
She's the Finnish Jason Bourne.
She's a Finnish Jason Bourne, but like she has something of Fox Mulder in her, and Modesty Blaze.
Okay.
It's a figure that I really love, and I like the way she works.
And Henna works for the Finnish intelligence service, which we Finns know as Supo. Normally, Supo is not directly really tied to the world of cyber action, but in this book, it is. Can you tell the plots in a nutshell without any spoilers?
Yeah, D is for death and data. I created a travel agency, Next Destination, and they have a leak. And they their clients are very important people that somebody might want to influence on their holidays. A person on their holidays is very vulnerable, and if you want to kill the person, it's a good timing. So the information.
I hate the way you think.
Yeah, I tried to find out where there could be most of the information in one place, and when the people would be like on the weakest area, and that's the way, and that would be the way I would do it. I usually think, how would I do it if I could?
Right. We're happy you're on the side of the good guys, and as you would expect from somebody with a history of working for the Finnish Central Criminal Police. So you're clearly on the good side, even though you've carried a gun professionally in your previous life. Now, unlike the previous Henna Björk series, there's a lot of cyber activity. So, for example, the information from this travel agency, which is closely linked to the plot of the story, is leaked to the Tor network. Could you tell a little bit about what was different in creation of this book, or how did this book even come about?
But best things come by incident. So, as you told, I'm part of the distillery, and Sandra and Mariana from your house were talking about how could you make a gin for us, okay?
Which we did. We have gin made together with Christian and the distillery.
We did that, yeah. Okay. It was simple. But then they started to talk about the red teaming. And like an author, you're always having the nets out, and it sounded very nice. And they wanted to have a non-fiction, if I would tell the stories, okay, I have 5 non-fictions behind me, and I hate to do non-fiction. It's easier to do the fiction one. So I said, hey, I have a character, Henna Björk, she could fit in there. Okay, outside of this, the computer things and cyber is not so sexy. So I went to my publisher. I got a great idea now. I'm going to write about cyber. Say again. Cyber. No, not a good idea. And then I had my sledgehammer moment. Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yep. And it's now topping the list in every service, so I knew what I did.
You knew what you were doing indeed. Now, I read the book last week. It's a great book. I recommend it. It's a real thriller. Keeps you on the edge of the seat. And the part I liked is that, well, we all know it. When we see movies or read books with cyber details, the details are always wrong. Here you've taken great care to actually make it concrete and believable. Why are cyber details always wrong in fiction?
I don't know. I think they are so. It's very fun to show Jason Bourne running on the street and you take over an Israeli satellite, which is like 5 seconds and then you have borrowed the satellite. I don't really buy that, but the thing about actually I have to step back. In the beginning, I had a great adventure with Tom.
Tom, our Tom.
Your Tom. And like he gave me the techniques and more about, he gave me I knew about the gadgets a lot and the techniques, but he gave me like, I got into the soul, how they're doing. And that's like, it's the same part that police are doing. It's same, like being a spy is the same thing that has been for centuries. In Sun Tzu, Art of Crime, the spy are the most expensive things. So I got into the mood, and it was nice to write about it. But like the details are like, I'm known for having my details on intact. In one book I wrote, a guy was shot with an arrow with no hunting point. So I had in my cottage, I had a Kevlar vest and I have a bow and I shot and tested it. Okay, it won't go through without a hunting point, so I had to aim him in the head. So I'm like, everything that happens, I must know that it's like plausible. It's possible to do.
So you have to shoot in the head. I hate the way you think.
But I didn't buy a Flipper Zero because I know I would be a badass if I took a 1, 2, 3 hours thinking about, and I would go, oh, it's there. And
we don't want you to go to the dark side permanently.
No.
Now, there's tons of locations. This book isn't just at the keyboard. There's different locations, different countries. How do you actually build the geography in your book? Do you actually travel and visit different places?
It was so hurry, I couldn't travel this time. I tried to go to the locations.
It felt like you've been there.
Yeah, but I've been sitting down, and it's like my writing is, I've been sometimes forced to answer some question about my writing, and I got to answer. I write with, I have keywords. I managed to take out the words that gets you the feeling. It's because of writing is everything. Every day I lie. It's a lying game, but you have it to make it so smooth so you don't like. It's maybe the connection point from the real and to the fake that must be polished so nice that you don't know where the lies started and the truth ended.
Yeah. And this book happens in present time, and when you write not about the past or not about the future, there's always the challenge on how to keep it realistic and timely. And how do you actually do that? I think everything in this book is very much today. The only small detail I noticed which wasn't accurate is that there's discussion about NATO memberships, and in the book Finland is a NATO member, but Sweden is not yet.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the worst part, but because many things that I have put in my books has happened in the future. So it's like to keep an eye open, and I call it a radar. I look at the news in Sweden, which is good to. They are 3 weeks ahead of us.
Oh, they are. So that's the time difference.
Yes,
Welcome to Sweden. Please change your clocks by 3 weeks.
Yeah, 1 hour and 3 weeks.
Yes.
So it's like to combine and maybe find out something that happens, and it's not. it's most easy to use something that happened, but it's not in the news in Finland. So when you do that, you read Aftonbladet and you check it, it's not here, and then you copy-paste it, then you're a genius in Finland.
Okay, okay, that's easy. Now, Christian is a real author with more than 20 books under his belt. I've worked with multiple book projects and published my first own book 2 years ago. And of course, the writing process was a learning process for me. It took me 8 months to come up with this, with a deadline every week. Every Friday by midnight, I had to come up with something. How is your writing process? How do you actually do? Do you have deadlines?
I have deadlines, and I couldn't work without them. And like, I think why Henna is so intense, it's like I wrote it in so short time, and I was like in Henna world. I jumped into the rabbit hole with Henna, and I spent the 3 months with her. And like, if I wasn't writing, I was in the cyber sauna.
The podcast.
The podcast, yeah. And one thing, I'm 55, and I'm a fan of TikTok, because when I found one thing on cyber, the algorithms took care of it. So when I went to bed, I looked at Flipper Zeros.
No sleep, just TikTok.
TikTok, yeah, and back writing.
So you did go to the dark side.
Yeah, I did go to the dark side, but it's a good journey. But actually, I haven't time. I write 2 books in a year. I haven't time to wait for the when I get the ideas. So it's more about as I take my cup of coffee and go to my working room and start writing. If it's a bad day, I write 5,000 marks. No, and that's a bad day. And you have to work like, keep your fingers and head going.
But how do you do it if you have a block? If nothing's coming out, how do you do it?
Then there's raining in Budapest, and I look at the Google Maps, and there was a dog that got under the car, and then it starts coming.
Just start writing something.
It start writing something, and it's usually 10,000 marks. It's a good day for me. Okay,
10,000 characters. That's where you're happy.
Yeah.
Now, I know myself, so I set up very frequent deadlines for my project. My agent Ilona, I was working with the book with her, and she was like, "Oh, you don't have to send me stuff every week. You can send something after 2 months or 3 months." And I knew that if I would send something in 3 months, I would start working on the previous night.
Yeah.
So very frequent deadlines worked for me, and I'm happy I know how I work. But of course, it's different when you write professionally.
Yeah, and I have a bad way of like writing, starting without knowing. I know the theme. I know the characters, and then I put them to work. They go to the office, and something happens, and I'm like every day I find out what they are doing, and next day I think, okay, that happened yesterday. So it's called like the divine pen, the system. I don't want to know how the book ends, because it would be It would be painful to sit there and try to make it to the end. So it's much better to write, and after 400,000 marks, I'm starting to fade out.
And you'll surprise even yourself.
Yeah. And in fiction, it's so good when you have it ready, and you are like, do I have loose ends? Okay, I kill her, I kill him. You get rid of them, the loose ends.
As you do, yes. Now, before we go to the book signing, I have to ask you about the distillery. How come you ended up finding a distillery?
It's all about the books. I wrote a book on Finnish. That was not for us.
Not for us.
Yeah. I wrote a book about Finnish whiskey distilleries, and their stories were so nice, so I got hooked up, and like I thought, why not? And we have been now in Ålvers distillery in Mäntsälä. We've been working more than 5 years, making great gin and Finnish rum.
Okay.
So, and we have the soju only. I think we are only one in.
What is soju?
It's the Korean and Japanese drink most consumed So we are the only one in Europe that make
Soju made in Finland. All right.
made in Finland, yeah.
Good. So thank you all for following us for this book launch of Christian's book, The Red Team, available in Finnish under the name Koodi. And now you have a chance to get a copy of the book for free. Christian will be doing a book signing right over there. We have 50 copies for free in English, 50 copies for free in Finnish. And if we run out of the books, Christian will also be selling the books and signing them during the lunch break in the charity shop, where all the proceeds from the books go to the ocean cleanup and Your Finnish Friends project. But that's all we have for you today. First come, first served.
Yeah.
Christian's book right over there.
Early birds.
Yeah.